G'day, you've got K-Mate here from Aussie Beach TV. We've been sponsored by Aussie Souls today, and we're going to go interview a few Aussie Souls out here and find out their opinion and their victory on getting rid of the coal seam gas here down at the Bentley Blockade.
Hi Kay, my name's Sue James. I'm from Dunoon, which is a village just half an hour away from here up in the hills next to the Shannon. And we were one of the first villages to actually lock the gate. Our village, we jumped on very quickly and locked the gate. It was a process of surveying all the properties in the area and asking them if they were for or against CSG. And in the village of Dunoon, we actually got 99% against CSG who wanted to lock the gate.
We recently filmed at Bentley on the coal seam gas. What are your thoughts on that?
I was absolutely amazed that you guys made the trip down to Bentley, but it was wonderful to see you there. And I was watching from the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was watching the Aussie Beach reports from Bentley, because I was following the whole Bentley operation very closely, because this is a tremendous success.
Yeah.
Because, Northern Rivers is a rather unique area, and I think pretty much everyone in Australia, certainly on the East Coast, recognises that Northern Rivers, the communities there, Byron Bay, Nimbin, and the likes, these are the, I'm told that they are acknowledged as the old sort of hippie communities.
Yeah.
Whereas today, it tends to be environmentalists and ecologists and people who have an interest in protecting the environment.
This is a victory for people and victory for people power. All these people have all contributed and made this a campaign which has forced this government of New South Wales to listen.
I'm Adam Guys, and I'm one of Lock the Gates regional coordinators and also a gas field free Northern Rivers representative. Look, I've been fighting coal seam gas for a couple of years now. I live in the region, I love this region, I love the bloody beaches here. I'm a surfer, so there's no way I'm going to let them frack this region, pollute our waterways and turn this into an industrial gas field.
Because Bentley is so close to Lismore, to Byron and Nimbin, then people from these communities were going en masse to Bentley. And I think that some weekends there was like 2,000 people there. And then when the New South Wales government threatened to send in 700 riot police to break them up, the following weekend there was 10,000 people there. So the New South Wales government realised that they had a little bit of a problem on their hands here, and it might not go down too well politically. So they backed off and they actually withdrew Metgasco's licence on the grounds that clearly they hadn't fulfilled their obligations for community liaison.
Tents across the campsite are starting to come down. Even some of the major protest strongholds across the gates, including lookout tripods, are being dismantled. Organisers say there are mixed emotions across the camp.
A very intense experience for everyone when you're expecting something to happen at any time.
I mean, this is a country that's twice the size of Europe, with a population that's a third of that of the UK alone.
Wow.
So it's an enormous sprawl, and unfortunately the corporations take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And the corporations use a term which is very telling. They target an area and they call it a sacrifice zone. In other words, they know there's going to be some collateral, they know there's going to be contamination, they know people are going to get sick, but it's manageable. It's a small enough number, we can just go and pay them off.
Yeah.
And this is not acceptable. And if we allow this to continue, then unfortunately, we are probably condemning future generations to lives of unimaginable, abject misery.
People believe propaganda. It's a proven fact. The government says it's okay. AGL says it's okay. And in the Avon Valley, and I was at their community meeting, and the representative from AGL denied using prohibited chemicals for the CSG fracking 3 or 4 times at the beginning of the meeting. And by the end of the meeting, they'd admitted that, we use them, but they're strictly controlled guidelines.
Oh, do we get to see those strictly controlled guidelines?
They're strictly controlled.
Oh, okay then.
Yes, we don't see any information on that. But these chemicals that they're using are prohibited under international law. Yeah, we use them. They're using them here.
8.6 milligrams per kilogram of arsenic, 14 milligrams per kilogram of lead, 42 milligrams per kilogram of chromium, It's way through the roof in potassiums, aluminium, all sorts of different hydrocarbons.
Gasco has been pushing the Office of Coal Seam Gas to lift the suspension. CEO Peter Henderson unable to comment earlier today. The camp's no longer submitting a development application to stay here. They've been given a 2-week grace period to clean up and move on.
All sorts of things to return the land as best as possible to how we found it.
With a final Greet the Dawn service planned for tomorrow morning, what was to be a clash with the police will instead be a closing ceremony.
Wow.
So that's one down, but and it's great to see. And I mean, Bentley is an absolute inspiration. I mean, it's an inspiration for, I think, people in the UK, in the US, and hopefully also here in Australia.
Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV.
What do you think everyday Australians need to know about coal seam gas and why?
Look, we need to know that it's detrimental to the health of ourselves. We need to know that it's detrimental to the health of everything. But we need Australians to be aware that we're selling up our country. I don't think we own anything, do we, anymore?
I highly doubt it.
When the politicians are not listening to their electorate, all you're left with is getting in front of the gate and actually stopping the trucks from coming in.
Yeah.
And if 1 or 2 people do it, then obviously they'll just be arrested and charged with obstruction.
Yeah.
But when you've got 2,000 or 10,000 people
They're
there,
passionate about it. and
it's a
want it to
whole
stop.
different ball game.
It's called locking on, and it's to really get in the way, put our bodies on the line. You know, if there's a bulldozer coming this way, they're going to have to stop and do something about what we're doing here.
The last farmer I spoke to, he went, well, what am I going to do? What can I do? It's just terrible. And I was almost in tears when he was talking about his farm and possibly walking off his farm.
It breaks your heart, it really does.
Well, we've had culturally significant events here, and these installations and things that people have built here, they need to be preserved for the national estate. They're kind of like the shearers tree up in Winton, I think it's Winton, where the shearers strike occurred, the Eureka Stockade, Captain Cook's cabin, the Aboriginal scar tree and cave painting. All these are things that we need to preserve for our cultural history, and these things are in that category. There's been multi-denominational worship occurring there. There's even been what you describe from an anthropologist's point of view as initiations with the young people and older people facing their fears of being attacked by police and things in order to protect the earth. So there's all sorts of really culturally significant things have been occurring here, and they need to be preserved for the future. It'll also create employment in the future because people want to come to these tourist icons from all over the world. We've had people from all over the world helping us defend the earth here.
I am here to stand in solidarity with the rest of the community for the sole purpose of getting a message across to corporations that we protect, we are the protectors of this land. This land belongs to all of us, regardless of the title given by law. We are the people who live in this area, friends, families, everyone, and we are the protectors. We're not protesters, we're protectors.
Basically, we can survive without gas.
Yeah.
We can survive without oil, but we can't survive more than 2 or 3 days without water.
Exactly.
And so, you know, there's something not right about what's occurring here. And hopefully what we'll see is more people from all around Australia coming together to fight this pernicious industry. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
making a stand. And I think the critical thing is, Janaya, you know, we have to get people to focus on what they agree on.
Yep.
Because the establishment does a really good job of divide and conquer. So what it does is it identifies the things that they know that, say, you and me disagree upon, and then they'll try and drive a wedge between us based on the fact that we disagree. The fact that we're both in total agreement on something like the protection of our water, that's what we have to focus on, and not get bogged down on what we disagree on.
The camp was first set up in February. There was 4 or 5 people that actually came here to camp to start to encourage people to move in. The camp's established itself, as you can see, to something quite unbelievable. We'd never expected this at all, and the infrastructure here is second to none, even to the point of having a DA approval by council to be here. I've never experienced that in a protest camp before.
This movement's a grassroots movement that brings people from all walks of life together. You know, we've got townies, we've got countries, we've got farmers, we've got greenies, we've got rednecks, we've got ferals, we've got the whole gamut of society that have come together to protect land and water, because everyone realises how important land is for growing food and water is for drinking and growing our agriculture.
We need to make more people aware that coal seam gas or any form of mining is detrimental to the health of this land and us, the people.
Exactly.
You, me, and everybody else out there. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to make the government realise that we actually are human beings, we do have a say, and we're going to do something about this.
Well, yeah, that was a unique experience that came out of this, was that people stood up as a people against the government.
We rode to Canberra last year in protest of Glenorgh's drilling and Doubtful Creek, and went to speak to the politicians and was pretty well ignored, and so we're doing the only thing that we can do now, which is stand on the road and protest.
They're ripping up our land, our resources that were there, and we're not going to see anything for it. None of us are going to see a cent for this. Only the companies are, and it's export money. And it's just another way of destroying our produce and our land that we work with, our rivers and our beautiful holiday places, and places to swim, and make it dangerous for us to actually swim in these areas and drink these waters. And what it'll do is it'll create a wealth gap. It'll make life actually harder for us, because the richer they get and the more control they get, the more they actually increase the burden on people. They're not good people.
This is an industry that is going to contaminate the one thing we all need, water. And especially in this country, which is a spring-fed nation, and the gas industry is sucking water out of the Great Artesian Basin at a rate 6 times greater than it can naturally replenish. And you know, what's going to happen to Eastern Australia when the Great Artesian Basin is effectively sucked dry?
When you're getting figures like 87%, 93%, 97.3% saying no way do they want to live in a gas field, and our politicians don't listen to us and they still continue to force this dirty industry on us, then something's wrong. And we're seeing it. We're seeing the nexus of corruption between gas companies, mining companies and corrupt politicians, and their heads are starting to roll. And we need to, as a society, change the way we do democracy. We need to change politics. We need to clean it up and say no more to dirty money from big mining companies, no more from political donations. Let's have true democracy. Let's have people representing us and telling it like it is, which says no fracking way, no coal seam gas anywhere in this region.
It looks like it could be almost a good idea, but due to corporate greed, once again we're putting everything at risk. When the AGL spokesman was at the Gloucester community meeting, I asked him, what happens if we do exactly the same stuff but not put those deadly toxins in? We still get gas out, he tells us, but just not as much. So greed is dictating everybody's future once again.
It has to stop. This, no matter where they drill, they will be bringing up these toxins in their drills. Even if they're drilling for water, they'll still bring up arsenic and lead. The point of people here protesting against Metgasco is really only half the story, because you've got these two other companies that do the drilling and make the mess and leave the waste behind. My mud sample came from the mud that they left on site at Glenorghy when they drove away.
Really?
They left at least a box trailer of this mud on site when they drove away. All these samples here have run down into the cold stream, into the Clarence River and into the ocean. This is toxic waste going into our oceans.
Look, All that anyone needs to know about coal seam gas or any other unconventional gas is that we don't need it. It's a stupid way of getting energy. It pollutes water, it ruins farmland, it requires an awful lot of energy to do in the first place, it drives climate change, and we already have enough gas that we export 50% of it overseas. So if that's insanity, I don't know what is. What we do need is a renewable energy future that you get from the sun, you get from hanging out at the beach, and is staring us right in the face. So that's our energy future.
Yeah, exactly. Wake up, Australia, and look at what's right in front of you.
Wake up. I'm looking what's right in front of me, and I like what I see.
Oh, thank you.
You're watching Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV.
I mean, God damn it, even beer needs water. And I can't imagine an Aussie bar without beer.
And Australia with no beer sounds like misery to me.
And I'm sure to probably 95% of the male population of Australia.
Yeah.
So if if the male population of Australia wants to keep drinking Australian beer, it better start thinking about its water supply.
Mick, what's your message to CSG?
My message is we need clean water. And it's not just a CSG, but CSG is an easy target because it's so provable how they destroy aquifers. And yeah, I think all the farmers need to know that they will be responsible if they allow them on their property because the gas company is not responsible.
Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV. The hottest girls you will ever see. Aussie Beach TV.
You're watching me on Aussie Beach TV. You're watching me on Aussie Beach TV. You're watching me on Aussie Beach TV. You're watching me on Aussie Beach TV. You're watching me on Aussie Beach TV. Cheers, mate.
Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV.